you feel like your self-esteem is completely knocked down? Maybe you were with a toxic person, maybe you're with a narcissist, and after that relationship, you feel like you don't even know who you are anymore. You don't even have that sense of self-worth or self-esteem. We're going to dive into that today. But in case you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, change, and development. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations, the creator of the NARC app, and your guide in the 45-day Clarity Challenge you can access at claritychallenge.net. If you like what you see here, talking about narcissism, narcissistic abuse, my journey in narcissism, please hit subscribe. Hit that notification so you can get notified when we drop new videos, when we're going live on the platform, anything like that, just to be able to see and understand more about narcissism or share it with someone that might be going through the same crazy-making experience that maybe you experienced as well. So in talking about this today of rebuilding your self-esteem after being with a narcissist, when you're with a narcissist, you're typically degraded. Like you're put down, you're belittled, you're torn down so that you have a place where you feel like there is no worth. Like you're not worth anything. Your self-esteem is shot. You're like, I have no confidence, anything like that. So what we want to dive into some today is this aspect of rebuilding self-esteem, empowering yourself, and then also redefining your self-worth to be able to help you continue to move forward into finding you into who you are supposed to be. When we talk about narcissistic abuse, we don't always focus on the damage of how destructive it actually is. Sometimes people laugh off narcissistic abuse and say that it's not real or say that it's not that big of a deal when it is huge. And the destruction that it leaves in the wake of a narcissistic person is oftentimes catastrophic to families, to coworkers, to relationships, to all different types of genres out there because of the fact of it being so entitled. When I was going through cheating and affairs and being with other people and gaslighting and all these different things, there was the aspect that I did not care of the damage that I caused. I did not care of how I left my wife frustrated, of how I left my life hurting, of how she would get into panic attacks, of how she would wonder where I was, of how I would gaslight her and make her feel crazy. I did not care. And that's the thing a lot of people need to understand about narcissism is it has huge damages to the other people because the other person does not care how they're hurting another person. And as a result, you'll have a narcissist that will have a lot of manipulation and a lot of control because that is what a lot of it is about, to be able to protect and hold up a mask. And as a result, you're going to start to feel guilty about yourself, about, wait a second, what did I do? What maybe I could have done something better. You're going to start having this negative self-talk that's beating you down with the narcissist, and then when you're away from the narcissist, still that thought, those ideas, those stories are going to be in your head, putting you down and making you doubt yourself. You'll get to the place where it feels like you have difficulty trusting anybody, but even more so difficult trusting you. How do I know if this person actually cares? How do I know if this is a good relationship? Like, what do I actually do now? And a lot of times you also struggle with standing up for yourself. Standing up for yourself by developing and having boundaries. So when we talk about rebuilding self-esteem, we want to start at some of the basics of having self-care, of having self-compassion. Like you need these things in your life to be able to start healing. If you don't have these in your life, it's going to be very difficult, too close to impossible to not be able to heal, to not be able to move forward in who you need to become. What this means is rebuilding, it has to come to a place of being intentional. Now, when I'm talking intentional, it means that your efforts are extremely intentional and aligned up with the direction that you want to go. This can be very difficult for someone who has been in the fog of narcissistic abuse because they don't know who they are or the direction that they want to go. So when I talk about being intentional, it's saying like, hey, I don't even know who I am and I don't even know where I want to go, but I'm going to start someplace. I'm going to start moving in the direction that I think I want to go. That might mean you get down the road and you make a pivot to a different direction that you want to go. But it means that you start to move. You start to do the things that are going to help you to move forward. And as you do that, you start to put a plan together of how you want to show up intentionally with your health, with your physicality, with your mental, with your spiritual, with your emotional aspects of this is how I want to live. This is how I want to grow. This is what I need to invest in. Without an intentionality, oftentimes there is no opportunity for growth or for healing because if we don't have a plan, it just all falls apart. Sometimes this could be very simple, And oftentimes when a person starts out, sometimes they even degrade themselves of like, oh, this is like so simple, like so basic level. But it needs to be that way to start off with because you're starting over in some aspects. This might be you taking time to sit down and read a book. It might be you getting outside and walking, taking a bath, journaling, meditating, getting into a place where you're in a support group of other people, that you're around people that are going to help you and understand you. It's getting back into a regular scheduled exercise or yoga or sleep patterns or nutrition. It's learning to say no. Learning to say no to toxic and to healthy people because you're prioritizing someone else. You're prioritizing you. Sometimes when I'm coaching clients, we'll be talking about their schedule and like what's in their schedule because it's important to say like, hey, if you don't plan it, it's not going to happen. But when you start to plan appointments with you, when you start to plan like dates with you, when you start to plan things that say, hey, I can't do this during this hour because I already have plans. What plans do you have? Those plans are with me. This is my development. This is my growth. This is my meditation. This is my time to give back. Like this is planned. So many times people plan out a lot of their life, but they forget to plan out the one thing that actually helps propel their life forward, which is themselves and their own personal growth. This is one of the reasons why we founded Raw Motivation, is to help people get that awareness, but then also help people to grow, help people to move past where they are, move past the stuck in the quicksand of narcissistic abuse and continue to move forward and to flourish and to fly and to thrive. We have to be intentional about it. It has to be scheduled in. One of the quotes that I love from Ben Bashard was along the lines of like, I can tell what you prioritize by how your schedule looks. I was talking with a client the other day and I was asking like, how often do you train? And they were like, every single day. And I was like, how often do you work on yourself? And they're like, every 3 days. And I was like, well, do you wonder why we haven't moved anywhere? Because there has to be this intentional effort of if I'm going to rebuild, if I'm going to grow, if I'm going to change, I need to actually put forth the effort. I need to actually dive in and move to a whole nother level. And that's what we try to offer and provide here at Raw Motivations to coach you moving forward. So we're talking about rebuilding self-esteem, and a lot of that comes to the fact of like empowering yourself, taking back you. Now, sometimes I'll refer to this as taking back your power. And I don't mean that you're on a power trip or that you're so much in control that you're like, now you're the narcissist or manipulating. Like, I'm not talking about that in a power trip aspect. I'm talking about it in the aspect of taking back control of you, because you are the one thing that you can control in the toxic relationship. You can't control the other person. You can't make them change. You can't make them develop or do anything different or recognize the things that they're doing if they don't want to do that. But you can control you, your actions, your response, and your growth. We see this happen when you take back your power, when you work on controlling you versus them. You start to develop boundaries. And those boundaries are for you, not for the other person. It's for you to say, hey, this is the level that I'm going to set. I'm not going to deal with this going past this, because it is about how I need to work on myself to grow, heal, and change. It's getting to the place where you understand, like, hey, I actually have autonomy. I actually have needs. I actually matter. Not in the selfish way of like, oh, I'm the best thing ever. No, where we're just saying like, hey, you need to also show up for yourself, of understanding who you are. A lot of times when we talk about this, we're talking about focusing on your growth and focusing on your development. Bringing in healthy strategies to be able to help you introspection of your needs, of your values, of helping you to build confidence. And that's by the daily repetition. What we do is we try to develop systems and plans and ideas that work for you, that is building daily repetition that builds your confidence, that establishes good self-esteem, that solidifies your self-worth and helps you continue moving on from that healing journey into that growth mindset. So when we're talking about that self-worth piece, we need to redefine it. We need to redefine it by looking at some of the things that we haven't looked at or that we haven't focused on. Some of that is the values that you believe, what you actually hold dear. So oftentimes people get sidetracked with their self-worth because they put it on someone else's responsibility to give to them, when that responsibility of your self-worth is on you. And that is getting to the place where you find you. You discover your vision and your values, the person that you want to be, who you could be, who you move forward being with your supporting values. If this is the direction I want to go, this is the things that are supporting me along that way. It's developing your passion and your purpose. Like, what are you actually fired up about? You might not be fired up about anything. You might not be excited about anything because you're so lost in the fog. So it's us getting to a place where we help develop you to the place where you can find that. And where you can go after your passions, your desires, the things that you want, and you start to solidify a direction. You start to know, this is the direction that I want to go. This is the direction that I'm called to go. And we start to see that with your strengths, with your qualities, with setting goals, with grounding yourself, with journaling, with turning from a victim to a survivor to a thriver. That is the goal, to help you get healed, happy, healthy, whole, and continuing moving forward. We've been developing a lot of different things, from the Escape Toxicity Challenge to the 45-Day Challenge to now the Thriver community that recently launched. We've got several people that have already filled up those slots, with only a couple slots left starting here in March, of where you can actually come into the program with exclusive access to a lot of different content, but also a lot of different coaches, and also one-on-ones exclusively for 3 months. The 3 months, how I call it, is almost like a done for you, except I'm not actually coming to your house and healing you. 3 months done for you as far as the coaching that you're going to receive every single week, and also the unlimited one-on-ones to be able to meet with me, to be able to help along that process in that journey in the 3-month period. We're building a systematic approach to get you free in 3 months, to get you free mentally and emotionally, so you can be at the place of saying, I know my worth, I know my self-esteem, and I'm able to move forward. When you sign up in the Thriver community, you also get access to all the other challenges that we have currently out there, which is the Escape Toxicity, the 7-Day Challenge, and the 45-Day Clarity Challenge. You get access to both of those as well. Weekly high-level calls and accountability with people that are in the same level, the same way as you, that are moving forward in their life. Access to healing, access to me 24/7 through texting or through the one-on-one phone calls, the one-on-one Zoom calls that we can do anytime that you decide to schedule during that 3-month period. If you're interested in that, or if you want to know more information, you can go to thrivermastermind.com. Go to thrivermastermind.com. Would love to have you be in that group to jumpstart your healing, to get to the place where you can say, hey, I know that I'm dealing with this, and I'm going to kick it out of the park. I'm going to knock it out because I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to invest in my self-esteem, my self-worth, my healing, to continue forward into that growth.